2023 could not have been more of an epic disaster for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They have been called grifters, losers. They lost the Spotify deal. They were kicked out of Frogmore Cottage. Prince Harry was sat 3 rows back at the coronation. So many epic disasters in one singular year, especially with the ultimate insult, which was South Park. But really, at the end of the day, if you look back at the entire year and all the list of epic failures for Harry and Meghan, it's really clear that they are the architects of their own demise. They had all the tools necessary to be an epic success that they wanted to. The problem was, I don't think they had the talent, I don't think they had the work ethic, and I just don't even think they're competent to be attempting to do what they are doing. And Hollywood doesn't have the money anymore to indulge their every whims. And so while 2023 was a disaster, 2024, I think, will be the opportunity for Harry and Meghan to attempt to right the ship. And if they can't, I think it'll be officially sunk and at the bottom of the ocean, resting with the Titanic. So really, in many, many ways, much like Queen Elizabeth said of 1992, this has really been Harry and Meghan's
an Annus Horribilis.
So with that epic introduction, let's go ahead and get into this video very quickly. But really quick, if you guys don't know, my name is Brittany and I provide compelling royal commentary on this channel, so if you want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. I also have a newsletter. I'll get back up in the new year. I also have a fashion channel where I go over royal fashion and jewelry. I also have an upcoming trip to Scotland if you are interested in that. And I also have a partnership with Ana Lucia Diamonds. So if you see my lovely solitaire here, these are lab-grown diamonds, and my earrings, hoop earrings here as well. I just love the quality, and some of these are really great deals, especially these hoops. And so if you guys are interested in any of that, I do have a code, and you can save 20% by using Royal20. But without further ado, let's get into Harry and Meghan's 2023. It would have been great if it happened in 2022, because then we would have really had like the 30-year, would it be 30? Yeah, the 30 years between the two, which would have been bookends so well. But unfortunately, no, we didn't quite get that. But we got this amazing epic disaster that was Harry and Meghan this year. My goodness, could two people fail more? I don't think so. With everything they had at their disposal, to fail so spectacularly is just unbelievable. And I'm not even sure if I got everything, but I had this whole list of everything that basically essentially went wrong for them this year. And obviously, hopefully I get this video edited before the end of the year, but obviously it definitely started out with Spare, and it pretty much has ended with Endgame and Meghan's bizarre coffee commercial with somebody called, somebody had a great quote about that. Hopefully I can find it. But here is the list I gathered together, and I'm going to tell you guys what are the 6 worst disasters for Harry and Meghan this year. So here is my list. And this is in no particular order, by the way. I was just going through things and thinking them as they came to me. I could have missed a thing or two, but I think I got most of it here. We have obviously losing Frogmore. The royal family is definitely moving on. We have the paparazzi chase in May, losing Spotify, also I believe in May. Netflix flops, 2 flops. We had Live to Lead and the Invictus Games. We had the coronation and Harry being sat in the back once again behind a feather. Hollywood losing interest and admitting they overpaid for Harry and Meghan. We had Endgame, Spare, and we had Scobie's obviously disastrous royal racist allegations showing up in the Dutch book. That was an epic train wreck for Harry and Meghan as well, having to pay the Daily Mail £40,000. South Park, of course. Archewell failing and losing money. We also have Chris Brock, who essentially made fun of Meghan Markle and her racism allegations against the royals. We had a Freedom of Information Act request revealing Harry and Meghan's demands on New York school for charity visit. We have the missing engagement ring. Meghan has not been seen with it in all of 2023, but she's more than willing to wear her pretentious massive diamond blood pinky ring. So we also have Hollywood Reporter calling them losers. Losing another staff member. Yes, this was in the Times article, then got buried, but they had lost another member of their communications staff. Is that any surprise? No. And what she said on their way out is that, well, Harry and Meghan just didn't seem to want to listen to any advice. And is that a surprise to anybody? No. And then we have the grifters comment, which seems to come up time and time again in every article that I've seen when it comes to Harry and Meghan. And so all of these things I think are really, really bad for them. And so I think number one to start off our list here, and I'll try to go in chronological order. And of course, number one is Spare. Spare was a stupid decision. Obviously, most of Harry and Meghan's decisions have been stupid decisions, but Spare was probably one of the worst. Harry went on this tour where he once again attacked his family and said, well, I just want to get my piece out there. I just want to share my story because, you know, knowing how many people I allegedly killed in Afghanistan, that's going to save lives, people. That's going to save lives. But of course, once I say that, my security risk goes up. So don't you dare not cover my security. Because I was the idiot who made the comment, you must now cover my security because I'm at more of a risk. You know, don't you love that? Don't you love those sorts of things? But I think the big thing is with Harry here is that the book didn't really help him. It made him a source of mockery because, like, we didn't need to know that thing about the Elizabeth Arden cream, remembering his dead mother and his penis. We really didn't need to know those three things within the combination of each other. We really didn't. Jimmy Kimmel even mocked that, so go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of this here.
Oh, mummy, he cried with a scream, and from then on up high she appeared with some cream. My poor little prince, put this cream on your willy. It will lessen the ache and make it less chilly. Mummy knelt down and gave him a squirt into the trousers where his winkles still hurt. And lo and behold, like the calm from a storm, his frozen cold snot stick was suddenly warm. Should ever you have icy chills on your heart, just give it a rub with Elizabeth Arden.
And that's not a surprise. It was a stupid thing to add. There's one thing about being transparent, and it's another thing about oversharing. Harry needs to learn that there's some things that you do not need to share that don't help your case. And what I think is key that Harry and Meghan have missed out on is that, yes, we perhaps know more about Harry, but did we come out of this liking him more or liking him less? And because we like him less, Spare was a failure. In fact, one of the YouGov latest polls had Harry only 1 percentage point above his wife. Usually he might have been 5 or 10. Now he's just 1 percentage point. His dislikes have gone up. Why? Because of Spare and the fallout of Spare. Spare was an incredibly stupid decision. Harry and Meghan, and I think especially Meghan, because again, she's a narcissist, she's a control freak, thinks that she tells us her story time and time again. At some point, we will believe it. But I think the reality is people just get annoyed by it. It's like, yeah, we've heard this before. Tell us something we haven't heard before. It's you re-clarifying things over and over and over again with the same story just doesn't do anything for us. So what do we do in this scenario? And I just don't think there is a good answer here. So Harry and Meghan are really left out in the cold. And I don't think, again, all his interviews in Spare did him any favors, especially when he said that Meghan didn't say any of his family members were racist. And I'm like, yeah, you did. You didn't directly say it, but the implication was clear. And then he lied and said, well, the British media ran with it, when it was really the US media who ran with it too. We all read into what she was saying as if she was calling one of the royal family members racist. And then they left that for 2 years until clarifying it. So the people who are trying to combat misinformation left misinformation lying there for 2 years and didn't try to protect any of his family members. And at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really appreciates people who just drag their family members through the mud. I don't think anybody likes that at all. I think it really puts a bad taste in people's mouths. There's a way to share your story without also tarnishing and damaging your family in a lot of ways. There's a way to do that, to say your piece and yet also leave some things unsaid. And I think Harry didn't learn that. And I think that is why Spare has been a really big disaster for them. The second big disaster for them this year is losing Frogmore Cottage. And while that's probably perhaps not a huge thing, what I think Frogmore Cottage and the loss of it signifies is that the monarchy doesn't trust them. The monarchy doesn't trust them at all. They thought that giving Harry and Meghan still access to royal property without supervision was too risky. That's what that tells me. Because they posted pictures in their Netflix documentary from behind the scenes of the palaces, which was a security risk to everyone. The people who are screaming to the mountaintops about how important they are, that they need this massive security apparatus, are making their own relatives less secure because of their own need to tell their story, to show these behind the scene pictures. That was more important than other people's security. And then they start moaning about security. That just doesn't work, doesn't wash. People don't like that. And because of that, the royals had to say, you know what? Wow. They weren't meaning, I think, to slam Harry and Meghan, really. What they were saying was, we just can't trust you to give you access to this property anymore. So Harry and Meghan can always stay at a royal estate somewhere, but it is within a specific parameters, at specific times. They have lost their ability to go in and out of a place. They can't do that anymore. They have to have permission. They're gonna get a specific room in a specific place at a specific time. They can't just wander into an estate and wander out when it suits them. It also allows the monarchy to control who's coming in and out of the palaces. Harry and Meghan can't just say anymore, well, that's my friend, because the monarchy is also thinking, well, is that a Netflix crew? Is that somebody else? Like, who is that person coming in and out? That is what that screams to me. So even though this perhaps seems less important than the coronation, I actually place this a bit higher, because yes, Harry was sat third row back, which I knew would happen. I think, again, the loss of Frogmore Cottage, because you got to remember, Charles wants to keep that window open. So to deny them Frogmore really damages that connection. And Harry and Meghan apparently used that in some sort of letter, going after Charles and saying, well, do you want to see your grandchildren again? Which is a terrible and horrible thing to do, by the way. But the monarchy had to set boundaries, and eliminating Frogmore Cottage as a place where Harry and Meghan could plot was a great thing to do. And so the next thing was, obviously, after Spare, after losing Frogmore, then they got hit with South Park. South Park's epic takedown in the worldwide privacy tour was brilliant because it highlighted Harry and Meghan's hypocrisy, and it also, I love this, highlighted that Meghan Markle is really an empty shell. Take a watch at this moment.
Image we project to people. What matters is what we have on the inside.
I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, they get it. Because I've always thought that. I think Meghan Markle, despite all the trappings she puts around herself and everything, she really is not an original thinker. She really doesn't have much to offer, because I don't think she's willing to ever take risks with anything. She wants either a guaranteed paycheck or she wants everybody else to do the work for her. This is not a woman who puts herself out there and takes great leaps and risks to make something happen. She's not that. You could argue that Mexit was a risk, but it was also a stupid one from a business decision, because they made this announcement thinking they had all the leverage in the world to make their plan scenario happen. I mean, they even had the manifesto on their website. But then the monarchy knocked it down and they were like, how dare you? How dare you? This was our plan. And the monarchy's like, no, we can't do that. And I don't think Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, were anticipating that that could go wrong. And when it went epically wrong, they were like, they just didn't know what to do. But South Park was just so unbelievably good at highlighting them, how they demand privacy and yet go around blabbing to everyone. Because I know a lot of people said, well, Meghan's been pretty quiet this year. And I'm like, she really hasn't. She's talked a lot through intermediaries and everything. And so she has not been all that quiet. But that was a pretty big blunder to them and a pretty big disaster for them as well. It hit them really, really, really hard. And I don't think that's something, again, that they'll recover from. And they have to be able to change the narrative themselves. And I just think they're unable to do that.
And next we have here
is obviously the disastrous paparazzi chase in New York City. I can't imagine a bigger level of stupid than saying you were in an 80-mile-an-hour car chase in Manhattan. In Manhattan. I've been there a couple of times. Bumper to bumper basically all the time. Unless you're wandering around at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, maybe you can hit those speeds. But there are stoplights. It's like they were saying they were going around like off the bridges and up highways. And it's like everybody's like, what are you talking about? And then the stupidity of getting out of a secure SUV into a see-through taxi cab. Nobody bought this story. Nobody did. No celebrity came out in their defense. No person in New York go, yeah, I understand how that happened. No one came to their defense there. They looked like idiots. They did look like the village idiots in that instance because it was so incredibly stupid. And part of it was their statement. They're like, it was a near catastrophic, we almost died car chase. And everybody's taking a couple steps back going, I really doubt it was that bad. It was an attempt to recreate a situation like Diana, but it just didn't work. None of the setups worked. Like, why would you get into a taxi when you were originally in a blackout SUV? The blackout SUV is obviously a lot safer than the see-through taxi cab. And so all of this stuff together, it just signifies just an epic level of dumb in whatever concocted plan this was. But I think, again, the key thing here is not that this necessarily happened, but that they elaborated on the statement so much. It was so exaggerated, which was what Meghan Markle does. She exaggerated it to such an extent that it became an unbelievable situation. They might have actually gotten away with it if they had made it more believable, but they didn't. And so it crashed and burned. Next big catastrophe was Spotify. Losing Spotify deal was epic, and it's so bad, and I don't feel like Harry and Meghan appreciate how much of a disaster that is for them. And I know they claimed it was mutual and stuff, but the addition of a senior executive at Spotify calling them grifters, and then later People magazine talking about how everybody agrees they overpaid for Harry and Meghan, signifies to me that Spotify was like, you know what? What do you have? Do you have anything we can use? Because we're not going down the archetypes route. It sucked. We're telling you right now it sucked. Nobody watched. So what's your other idea? Harry and Meghan are like, we don't have any other ideas. Although Harry's idea was, of course, interviewing like Vladimir Putin and asking about his childhood traumas, as if a dictator would tell you about his childhood traumas, Harry. That's not what dictators do. That's really not what dictators do. And the Spotify was like, okay, those ideas all suck. You guys have been disaster to work with. We're done. And because of this, I think it gives Netflix an out too, at some point to go, you know what? They produce things for us. They performed pretty poorly. We're done now. They really just haven't given us anything that we want. And I think somebody said in an article too that the stuff Harry and Meghan want to do doesn't make money. Like, Meghan Markle wants all of her projects to reflect their philanthropic arm and Archwell Foundation. That just, philanthropy and entertainment just don't necessarily go together. And I'm sure they're all looking at that going, we want to make something that makes us millions of dollars, not something that makes us a couple $100,000. So that's not going to work. And losing Spotify, I think also to me signified, especially because they didn't include it on their Christmas announcement, is that they didn't really care about the audio portion. They didn't really care about actually making something good. They just wanted the paycheck from it because they were more than willing to drop it when the paychecks weren't coming in. They're not willing to keep having it perhaps as something in the future, something that they can rework and retool and recreate something. I mean, because they have all the resources in the world. There's literally apparently a podcast studio in their house that they can't use for no other reason than they don't want to. Meghan doesn't want to create a podcast and see if it gets picked up and do things that way. She's totally and completely risk averse. Unless somebody's paying her millions of dollars to do something, she's too scared or too entitled to actually just take a risk, put a product out there and see what happens. She wants this buffer. And because of that, again, I don't think there'll be much of a success. And of course, the last thing, Endgame. That could not have gone worse for anyone involved. That Omid Scobie is still trying to shill this book after he's been outed as a liar multiple times is beyond me. That anybody gives him the time of day is shocking. I say I'm a commentator on here. I'm very specific about that because yes, I do some journalistic things when I can, but there's also, I think, a difference between commentating and journalism. And I don't really hide my biases. I hate people who hide their biases and then proclaim themselves to be saints and that every story they're telling is true. That's the type of journalist Omid Scobie is. He doesn't hate the monarchy. He's just trying to draw attention to something that people don't pay attention to. And how dare you say that he doesn't like the monarchy or that he's a shill or something because he's just trying to draw attention to X. He's not. He's a liar. He is. He's lied about his age. He lied about his private jet use. He lied, of course, the big thing, the big epic disaster about Endgame is not only that, just in my opinion, he's not a great journalist, but that he apparently in an older draft, and I say apparently allegedly because legal reasons, put in there the names of the alleged royal racists. And then when an older draft went out to the Netherlands and was translated into Dutch, all of a sudden he's standing back and going, well, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I swear there's an interview where he said, I never put the names to paper. And that's a total and complete lie. He obviously did. He obviously put their names to paper at some point in the draft, and he finally had to admit that. But he's like throwing the translators under the bus, he's throwing the publisher under the bus, and it's like, dude, we all know the only way that those names, which were accurate, by the way, according to the allegations of Meghan Markle, the only way those were accurate is if somebody with knowledge actually put them in there who knew what they were talking about. And the only one that could be is the author, you. He would just like denounce any version that wasn't English. And I was like, so if you're gonna denounce any version that's not English, even though your name's on it, so should you get any money from the publisher for those books not in English? I don't think you should. Because you're basically denouncing your own work. But the result for Harry and Meghan has once again been really, really disastrous for them because they haven't said anything, so it makes them look complicit. Despite Omen Scobie screaming to the moons and the heavens that he is not in any way friendly with Harry and Meghan, it looks like he's friendly with Harry and Meghan and that he's engaging in some of their misinformation campaign against the monarchy. That's what it looks like. And you just can't get away from that. And so Harry and Meghan, this disastrous year for them, I don't think they have a good 2024 ahead. I think even divorce could be in the cards for 2024, if not a separation. They just don't seem to have a direction. Meghan Markle, also something I failed to mention, is that she signed with WME and they haven't actually gotten her anything yet as far as we're aware because she has made her brand so toxic that nobody wants to touch her. And I understand why. Why would you want to touch somebody who has this hugely toxic reputation and who seems to, at any point when something isn't going right for her, completely willing to throw somebody else under the bus? Because businesses too, they got to think, okay, what if our deal goes bad? Harry and Meghan are more than willing to share trash about their family. Are they willing to share trash about us? That's what you got to think. And so Harry and Meghan have made themselves unusable in Hollywood. They have no direction. They have no creative talent as far as we're aware. They have some sort of scripted movie or something they're working on. But given that Hollywood is massively going to scale back its production, like Netflix is something that did make money last year, but most houses like Warner Brothers, despite having $1 billion in the Barbie movie, also lost $1 billion with DC. And so Warner Brothers and Paramount are apparently maybe going to merge because they don't have any money. And there's just no money around, so nobody is willing to indulge the whims of two royals who can't even satisfy their basic deals. Now you compare them with somebody like Queen Margrethe of Denmark, who I just did another video, she recently abdicated and she will change over to the throne to her son on January 14th. She has participated and created costumes, sets, screenplays for movies and art pieces because she's very, very passionate. She's very creative. And so she enjoys that outlet. We have yet to see Harry and Meghan be creative at anything. At this point, the only thing they have left is the Invictus Games. And I think that's failing as well. I forgot to mention, we had a couple of kerfluffles with the Invictus Game with a couple of senior executives in Vancouver being booted out. I don't think that has a strong future either. Harry and Meghan, this is their final leg. In 2024, they must prove themselves worthy of the millions they are getting. If they don't, I think they'll feel a swift kick in their keister as they are booted out of Hollywood and told, get a real job. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.